Hey frogs, dogs, and logs. Today I'm going to show you three basic fundamentals of AutoCAD: units, zooming, and OSnaps. Now I have the ID template currently up and running for this demonstration. If you don't have it up, you should. And if you don't have the template, just go ahead and open a new drawing. So first up on our video agenda is units. Now every professional field, be it engineering, architectural, or somebody in the scientific realm, has a unit of measurement to work from. For us interior designers, we work in the architectural realm, and more specifically with feet and inches if you're from the good old US of A. Now when you first open AutoCAD, the default unit of measurement is decimals, which is definitely more for the hunky science geeks than us architectural people. So us interior designers have to tell AutoCAD, because it's not the smartest thing in the world, to start working with feet and inches. So to do this, simply type units. Yep, just type it. UNITS, enter. And this little window pops up called drawing units. Now mine already says architectural, and if you have the ID template, it probably says architectural as well. And that's definitely the unit that we want to be working with. Now if you click on the scroll bar, you should see that there are all different kinds of units of measurement that you can work with CAD. So every single video I do moving forward will have this set to architectural. Also, if you look just below, you can change the unit of measurement where it says insertion scale. So if you're outside of the USA, you can set it to millimeters, centimeters, whatever unit you want. But if you're taking my class, you want architectural and you want inches. All right, Agenda 1 is complete. Agenda 2 is zoom. All right, I'm going to go ahead and click OK because I've got it where I want it. All right, let's talk a little bit about zoom. So model space is where we go to draw all of our line work. So now that our units are set to architectural, I can actually draw a line according to feet and inches. So I'm going to start by clicking the line button, and I'm just randomly deciding where I want to draw. Now something that you might not know is in the architectural realm, we always want to draw to the right of this green line right here and above the red line. So that's kind of like the positive quadrant if you think back to your geometry days. So we typically always draw in the positive. So I'm just going to click, and then I'm going to drag my mouse straight over. And maybe one of the first things that you see is that crazy green dashed line that shows up. This is called polar tracking. Look at you, you just got a bonus piece of information here. I wasn't even going to talk about this. Polar tracking. Polar because it helps you place lines in any degree of a circle, because once you place a line, you can see that you can go in a circle here, right? So if I go straight to the right, straight up, straight left, and straight down, I get that little tracking line. And that's basically what it does. It's just helping me track where perfectly straight or perfectly up and down are. I also kind of like to think of it as tracking because it's a little dashed line. It looks like little pellets or something in a row. Polar tracking is actually controlled by this button down in the status bar. Way down here. He kind of looks like a little Pac-Man actually. So if you want to think about it, polar tracking is Pac-Man eating pellets, right? Because a dashed line kind of looks like pellets. See how learning can work? We are associating Pac-Man, who only eats straight up and down or left and right, and who only eats pellets, to a dashed line that can only go up and down or left or right. I'm so smart. All right, anyways, if the symbol is blue down here, it means that the polar tracking is engaged or turned on. If it is not blue, it means it's turned off. So if you also click that little arrow that's right to the right of the little Pac-Man guy, you will see a list of numbers, and these represent angles that polar tracking is going to show up. So if you're working with a lot of like 45-degree angles in a building that you're trying to design, if you click on 45, 90, 135, and then you go up just to 45 degrees, let's see if I can get it to show, there we go, you can see that polar tracking line shows up. Very cool. So it goes up and then 45-degree angles. So that way I can draw a perfect 45-degree angled line easily without having to worry too much about it. Now I highly suggest that you stick to the very first line down here where it says 90, 180, 270, because if you do too much angles, like I'm going to show you here, that tracking shows up every single time that you basically move your mouse, and that's a lot. So just stick with the basic, keep it simple, keep it easy, and then when you need to draw a line in 45 degrees or whatever degrees that you want to draw it in, you can just come down to Pac-Man and say, hey Pac-Man, we're changing directions, we're going out of 45. Alright, so I got off track with Pac-Man a little, sorry. I'm a gamer girl. Anytime I can associate something with something that I love, I tend to do that. Alright, so we're talking about zooming. Focus, JR. Okay, so I have a line started. Right here, I've got it started, and you can also see that if I move my mouse, that there's a little distance that shows up right above the line, so it's a little measurement. If I type 20'6", it's going to draw a 20'6" line. So I'm going to type 20 apostrophe, and apostrophe means feet, and then 6. I'm not going to put a space or a quotation or anything. I'm just going to go ahead and hit enter. It's going to draw a 20'6" line. And I can check that by hitting escape first to end the line command, otherwise it wants me to keep drawing lines. I'm going to come up here to this little measuring tool. It's a little ruler, and if you click on it, and actually I'm going to hit the little arrow right underneath where it says measure, and I'm going to choose distance. And all I do is I click on both ends of the line, and you can see that it tells me that that's a 20'6" line, so that's kind of handy to have. Wow, you got a little bonus again. Woohoo! Yay for bonuses. Alright, I'm going to hit escape so that I can end the measure command, and you'll see that hitting escape ends all of your commands in AutoCAD. Well, hey, let's do this again. That was kind of fun. Let's draw another line. So line. This time I am going to start, I'm going to go in not a polarized, polar tracking direction. I'm going to go up because I'm an American and I can do what I want, right? So I'm going to come up here and let's do a 15'3" line. So 15 apostrophe for feet. You got to tell AutoCAD, hey, this is the feet. And then a number after the apostrophe is always your inches. So 15'3", enter. And there I've drawn a 15'3" line. Very cool! Now I do want to show you another little trick. If I hit escape and then immediately hit the space bar, you will see that AutoCAD automatically repeats the last command I had. So once I end a line and want to draw a new line, I hit escape to end the line, and then I do a space bar to start a new line. That's a pretty cool little trick, and it can save you time, because even though it doesn't really take that much energy to go back up to the ribbon and hit line, once you're doing that like 500,000 times when you're drawing a building, it adds up for time. So spacebar is great to restart a command that you just ended. Alright, so now let's get really crazy. Let's draw a 100-foot line, just 100 foot on the dot. I'm going to start right here, and I'm going to polar track this one. And I'm going to type 100 apostrophe for feet. Enter. Whoa! I can't even see the end of the line. It totally went off my screen. So this is where zoom, finally, JR, comes into play. I'm going to hit escape to end the line command. So anytime that this happens and a line you draw goes off the screen, I don't want you to panic. It just means the line is so long it just went off the screen. So the zoom commands are going to adjust the screen so that you can see a wider range of model space. The zoom commands are located over in the navigation bar, which is located right here. If for some strange reason you don't have that, you should be able to go to View and click on Navigation Bar and make sure it's blue. Once it's blue, it means it's turned on. Alright, so right smack in the middle of the navigation bar are all your zoom commands. The zoom command that AutoCAD defaults to first is called zoom extents. And if you hover your mouse, what's nice about CAD is it kind of highlights things and it explains to you what the button's supposed to do. So I'm just going to click on Zoom Extents, and you'll notice that the screen changed, and now that line, that 100-foot line, is actually perfectly inside of my viewable screen. So it kind of shrunk things without actually shrinking things. Does that make sense? The line is still 100 feet. It's just I have a different view of it now. Now the end of the line is right at the tail end, and that's kind of annoying. So what I want to do is I'm going to use the third wheel of my mouse, and I'm either going to push roll it up or roll it down to get it to kind of zoom out a little bit. So there you can see that you can use that third wheel of the mouse, and if you don't have a third wheel of your mouse, you better go get yourself a mouse that has a third wheel so that you can use AutoCAD to the best ability that you can. Now I'm also pushing down and holding on that third wheel, and that creates a little pan hand, and the pan just allows me to kind of like sticky finger model space, and then I can move the whole thing around. You can see that grid goes with it. That's the pan command. It's also located right above the zoom command in the navigation bar. So look at you, you're learning all kinds of things in this video. This is such an important video. I'm so glad I did it. Alright, so again, Zoom Extents. No matter if you're zoomed in tight or zoomed in really large or things are off the screen, it's going to place all the drawn objects perfectly inside of the screen. Zoom Window is one I'm going to show you. So if you actually look, there's a little arrow right underneath the Zoom Extents button, and that opens up the secret panel of secret societies of zooms. And the Zoom Window, for instance, if I click on that, I'm going to click and hold and drag my cursor so that I get a box, and whatever is inside of that box will zoom into your screen. So watch this. When I let go, boom, everything that was inside of that is now kind of zoomed in on my screen. So that's Zoom Window. The other two that I really like to use a lot are Zoom In and Out. So zooming in, obviously, and you can keep clicking on here if you want to. And then Zoom Out. And see how it kind of brings up that icon for Zoom Out to the forefront of the icons, so that you can keep clicking on it if you want to. So Zoom Out works, but I really do like the third wheel. I feel like it's more controllable. And I also like the added option of being able to do a pan so that I can kind of like drag everything around. Now I'm going to let you play with the other zoom tools because I don't want this video to be 50 minutes long, right? But one of the main things I want you to get out of this is that you can draw really long lines in model space. And if something happens to go off the screen, don't panic. Use the zoom tools to help you keep them in the visual part of the screen. You can use the zoom tools to work in small and more detailed areas because honestly, there's no need to be zoomed way out when you're trying to do detailed work in a very small area of your drawing. I also like to think of zooming as kind of like a drone. So you know how you're closer to the ground with a drone? It's got a camera on it. You can see more details of the ground, like the grass blades and the bugs and all that kind of stuff. And then as your drone moves further from the ground, so it goes up in the air, you actually lose the detail, but you get to see more of the area around you. So that's kind of what zoom is doing. You're either focused really far in or you're focused way out to see some of the more general area of model space. Alright, that's zoom. Last is something that we already touched on a little, and that's OSnaps. So when you want one line or object to connect to the end of another line, OSnaps, or Object Snaps in its longer version, is designed to help you perfectly connect to endpoints. So I'm going to click on this line, and you'll notice how it highlights, and there's these little grips. That's what those blue squares are. Those are called grips. So if I click on one of the grips, you'll see how it reconnects the line to my cursor, and then I can click to drop it. So that's kind of fancy, right? Click, click. The middle one picks up the whole line so that you can move it around if you want to. All right, so let's say that I actually want the end of this line to connect to the end of this line. I can grab that grip and I can bring it over, and you'll notice it's kind of hard to see because I've got the stupid dimension happening there, but there's actually a little green box that shows up. That's your OSnap. That tells you that if you click, it's going to perfectly align to the end of that second line. So click, and then you can see I'm going to use my third wheel to zoom in. That's pretty much perfectly aligned to the ends of both lines. So yay, that's what OSnaps does. And it's a godsend. I love having OSnaps on. OSnaps is down here again in the status options bar. It looks like a square with a smaller square or circle in the top left-hand corner. If you actually click on the arrow to the right of OSnaps, it opens up another hidden panel. There's so many hidden societies in AutoCAD apparently. And you can see everything that you can actually snap to. So if you don't have midpoint checked, I highly recommend that you check that, because if I were to draw another line, let's go up here and I'm going to click line. Now you can see a green triangle, and that indicates that's the center of that line. So a green triangle means center of line. So now I can connect my line, my new line, to the center point of that line. Very cool, right? Now I'm just right-clicking and enter, and that allows me to also end the command. There's lots of ways to end commands in AutoCAD. All right, so just to demonstrate that one more time, I'm going to hit the space bar so that I can start a line again, since that was the last command I had. And then I just hover my mouse first until I get the triangle, and as soon as I get that triangle, I know that I can snap a line directly to that line. It's not going to overlap, and it's not going to gap. And when we go to start working with floor plans and all kinds of other drawings, you never want a gap in the corners of your rooms, nor do you want your lines to ever overlap. They need to connect perfectly onto the edge or corners of lines or objects. So Snap is going to help you do that. Well, go ahead, and I want you guys to practice connecting lines together with OSnaps turned on or off. You're very quickly going to see why OSnaps becomes a handy setting to have turned on. It just makes your life so much easier. And in this video, I showed you how to draw in units, how to use the zoom tools, how to work with OSnaps. I even gave you some extra bonuses by understanding the Pac-Man polar tracking guy, the third wheel of the mouse, the pan command, and now the midpoint of OSnaps. So now we're on to the next video.